This is an account with unlimited money, or more or less, because I'm not rich. For 30 days, we will pit it against a completely free-to-play account with a total budget, obviously, of $0. The idea is pretty simple. Play exactly the same amount of time daily on both accounts. The same hours per day, no tricks or hidden advantages, just money versus effort. And at the end of this series, we'll compare the card levels, the unlocked cards, the total trophies, and the wins or losses of each account. To see if a rich player has any advantage over a free-to-play player, let's go ahead and create the rich player's account. Before we start this Supercell, when are you gonna add a button to skip the tutorial? I mean, it can't be that hard, right? It's like some kind of dictatorship, because I want to attack with minions on the right, but obviously they force me to throw the fireball on the left. Why can't I deploy minions there? Maybe I could take all 3 towers. Let's move on to a very important part of the video, which is the name of the rich guy's account. Okay, actually I've already thought about it, and it's going to be called Jamardo. Why? Because he's a gemmer. So G plus Jamardo, you get it? We just finished the tutorial, and now Jamardo's journey as a rich guy in Clash Royale really begins. As I progressed through the tutorial, the first thing I did was upgrade my cards, but there was a problem. The gold you get when you start the game is obviously very low. So I ran to the shop to buy the starter pack, which gives you 10,000 gold 20 wizards and 500 extra gems for just $1. It's an offer I shouldn't miss, since it gives me a good starting amount of gold. Plus, a super effective card for Arena 1. It means having an edge over any opponent we face in a match. The gold will give us financial freedom to upgrade any card at these levels, and the wizard, perfect on defense and excellent on the counter attack. A card from 4 arenas higher up that will give us the best defense in the game in these arenas. As well as the most overpowered combo with Giant that opponents, assuming they're not bots, won't know how to defend. I also bought the emote of the chat guy. Well, I did waste money there, but we're rich, damn it. What do we care? With the upgraded wizard, I went into my first matches, which were obviously very easy. Because literally, the first people you face aren't people, they're bots. Even so, I was already seeing the potential of being paid to win. In this game, we have a card from 4 arenas above in Arena 1 at level 6, making the matches much easier. Even against the bots, we defended really well, and our counterattack was unstoppable. So, I kept climbing through Arena 1, upgrading whichever cards I wanted because gems and gold weren't a limitation. On this account, I switched strategies as I liked, although in Arena 1, there aren't many strategies to try out. We also did a survey for which Supercell pays you 3 magic cubes, which, well, on this account aren't that important, but they always add up. We kept climbing, and in one match, I lost my internet connection. Yeah, I almost lost the match, but it's impossible to lose with this level and these cards. In Arena 1, did we use Jad's emote on the bot? Yeah, I don't know why I did that. I look like a fool. And 18 minutes after creating the account, we were in Arena 2. After that, I checked the shop looking for the Arena 2 offer, which is usually a bundle with lots of cards, gold, and gems for just under $2. In this case, there were only gems, which are also really useful for me, but it's not as good as that offer. Still, I didn't hesitate to buy the whole offer. I got a fortune chest, which was pretty bad. I wasted 750 gems on it, but it was enough to keep upgrading my card deck. With this, I unlocked King level 5. And the magic items, the most overpowered feature for a pay-to-win account, because when we enter a match, win, and go back to the shop, the magic item offers will be unlocked for us. They're definitely not cheap, but they're really good for improving your account. Obviously, I bought one of these offers, giving my account the chance in Arena 2 to unlock cards of all rarities except champions. And that's exactly what happened with my win condition, the Giant. But even more important was leveling up the mini PEKKA. We got it up to level 8, which is absolutely insane for being in Arena 2. We doubled the damage of the card that can counter every deck in these arenas. Because in this arena, the only win condition is the Giant, and the mini PEKKA is its best counter. So we basically became immune to losing for just $10. This upgrade got us to King level 7, unlocking the Pass Royale. The Pass Royale is another interesting way to keep boosting your account. In fact, it always gives you an evolution. And with it, you get a card that doesn't belong to your arena. In this case, it would be the Skeleton Army, which isn't such a strong card in these arenas because your opponents have arrows, which without a doubt I was going to get, but for now I skipped it to see the power of my mini PEKKA in a match. Yeah, I was literally spending quite a few dollars on guys who use huts like that. I don't know why I do that. And indeed, my mini PEKKA was super broken. I went ahead and bought the Pass Royale, and with that, we unlocked the Skeleton Army. With the magic items I got, I leveled them up to level 9 to try out this Immortal Evolution in a match. But it seems like my opponents forgot they had arrows in their decks, and they weren't killing my Skeleton Army. With this card that has such high DPS, plus, my skeletons were so over leveled, the enemy towers couldn't one-shot them. We managed to win matches absurdly quickly, allowing me to climb arenas super fast. And that's how we reached Arena 3, where the accumulated level of our cards kept making a difference. We kept winning super fast, and the percentage of real people we faced kept getting higher. But that didn't really matter. With our skeleton army at level 9, our mini P.E.K.K.A. at level 8, and our combos with giant and wizard. Would this make climbing trophies in this arena still a breeze? What if the evolved skeleton army wasn't helpful? My opponents were destroying it with arrows before it could act. It was only useful in one match when I dropped it in the middle during a tied game with 1 tower each and my opponent forgot about it. Take out the leader. But it didn't really make much of a difference either, and crushing and BMing my opponents. And with almost exactly 1 hour of gameplay, we advanced to Arena 4 and will leave the pay-to-win account here for today. With absurd card levels, an evolution, an epic card, which by the way can't be unlocked in these arenas. Now let's create the free-to-play account, the poor player's account. It'll have to match everything the rich player's account accomplished in just 1 hour. Logically, we can't have the same card level or evolution, but we could reach the same trophies as the rich player's account. Just to be clear, the rich player's account. It got through 4 arenas in 1 hour of gameplay, which is something like a new arena every 15 minutes of play. That's not unreachable at all, considering that the pay-to-win account spent a lot of time buying offers or upgrading cards. I started by naming the account, and in this case it would be Panardo. You see, the rich guy's account is called Gamardo. It makes a lot of sense for this account to be called Panardo because it's pretty pathetic. When I finished the tutorial, I quickly ran. I ran to the shop, but in this case it wasn't to buy offers because we have a total budget of $0. Our goal was to claim the free card from the shop, pretty pathetic, and enter the code Josie7 because it's always important to support that humble creator. With that help, we upgraded cards from our deck, but we quickly ran out of gold. Fortunately, we reached level 2, claimed the king's chest, and with that got some gold to keep upgrading the key cards in our deck and the princess tower too. There wasn't much else to do, so I rushed to play my first matches. And even though, unlike the rich guy's account, we didn't have that flashy level or cards from other arenas, the matches were still easy. Were they against you? That's how I climbed a few trophies until I reached the first rewards on the trophy road, getting some goblins that allowed me to change my deck's strategy. Now that I was winning matches a bit faster, saving some valuable seconds, I kept climbing trophies and opening lucky chests, and I was actually pretty lucky. And in the last match, before reaching Arena 2, we faced a real person. Obviously, I didn't hesitate to show him, and even though we beat him easily, this person defended fiercely, making the match last a bit longer and costing me some valuable seconds. Still, even so, we reached Arena 2 faster than the rich guy's account in 16 minutes. This is explained because on the rich guy's account, we spent quite a bit of time buying unnecessary offers in some cases, so everything was going normally, even a little better. I went to the shop again to see if they had anything free for me because we can't spend anything, we're totally broke. But of course there was nothing, so I kept playing. Once we got into the arena 2 matches, the game started getting more complicated. I mean, the matches weren't hard, but as we climbed up in trophies, we kept getting matched. A higher percentage of real people who obviously are mostly new players, but they really don't want to lose, making each match last a little longer. This is a problem because we only had 1 hour to play. I'm not sure if people improved, but they made some crazy predicts on me. This meant that in just over half an hour of playing, and against a really bad player, we reached Arena 3. Although the first difference with the rich guy's account was already noticeable. Because of our low tower level, we weren't allowed to reach Arena 3. I solved this quickly by upgrading some cards in my deck, which allowed me to reach King level 3 and finally be able to play in Arena 3. In this arena, we would feel the full weight of having our deck at a low level. I still had the same level of gameplay as with the rich guy's account. Well, it's me, literally. But the matches dragged on a lot, almost reaching overtime. This made it so that, compared to the rich guy's account, in the time it took me to win 2 or 3 matches with the other account, with this one, I was barely fighting for 30 trophies. We even faced people who would BM us back. That's really great, but what wasn't good was that it took us a long time to gain trophies. We claimed some gifts from Supercell and responded on the same account for the 3 lucky cubes because here anything free from Supercell is great for upgrading our cards. Also, I realized that I needed to change my strategy. I had to add a defensive card to our deck since the attacks with Barbarian and Giants. Since my deck lacked a Valkyrie, Wizard, or Fireball, they dealt a lot of damage to us. I added the Goblin Hut, which let us defend well against these cards and the Giants. However, adding a defensive card to my deck, it made the matches even longer each time. And when an hour of gameplay had already passed, and BMing this guy. Obviously, we always BM. We would end up halfway to the next arena. 3. The differences between both accounts, even though both have the same hours played, are already quite obvious. For example, the rich guy's account has 6 more king levels, making his tower and the princess tower much stronger in a match. The deck level gap between these accounts is ridiculous. For example, the rich guy's account has some cards up to 7 levels higher. Again, both have played the same amount of time. On day 1, we created the accounts and advanced through the first arenas, but the advantage of the rich guy's account over the one that doesn't spend money isn't that drastic yet. And let's remember that both accounts play the same number of hours per day. I started the rich guy's account ready to spend money. I went to the shop and saw that the evolution offers were unlocked. And this is just insane. Not only because the evolutions are really overpowered, but also because it's a way to cheat in the lower arenas. Let me explain. Basically, when you get an evolution, you automatically get the card with it. It doesn't matter if it's from your arena or another, we'll use this feature to get cards from other arenas. So I quickly left my tablet to go to the Supercell store on my PC, where besides evolutions, we get really great deals with the code HOSI. So I put all the offers I found in my cart and had to choose an evolution for my account, which was obviously my favorite. PEKKA, I paid for them and now needed to log into my account to claim all these juicy offers that would make us super overpowered, so I proceeded to claim all those juicy rewards. Like coins and evolutions, new cards like PEKKA, which would be really good for us. There was also luck, a magic coin, which is one of the most powerful items in the whole game. And I proceeded to power up and change my deck. I took out the win condition from my deck to put in a PEKKA and a prince. Now we depend on damage cards to reach the tower. But this wouldn't be a problem because we have them at a very high level. And after that, I went into a match to try out my new and powerful deck. And even though we faced another guy who had cards from other arenas like the Executioner, it was a relatively easy match, which we won by sheer brute force and in just a few seconds. But the important thing was that this match helped me perfect my deck. To our damage cards like the PKKA, the Prince, or the Mini PKKA, we added cycle and support cards to bait arrows and cycle a bit faster. And we went back into the match, this time to gain a lot of trophies, and the matches were super easy. I was winning purely by brute force. My deck had no win condition, just damage and support cards. It worked incredibly well. All it took was the first push and the towers would fall like they were made of glass in under 30 or 40 seconds. I won every match. My deck was designed in such a way that I could open with a push, but if the opponents attacked with everything, I had cards to stop them. And even though most of the matches were similar, the opponents, when they stopped being bots and became real people, even those with few brain cells played differently, each with their own strategy. I recognized those who attacked aggressively, the typical lower arena players. But this worked against them, it just made their defeat take longer. But it was inevitable, since they ran out of elixir to defend against my expensive and powerful pushes, and I would beat them in just under a minute. There were also people who prepared to defend against the pushes, and these, simply because of the difference in levels and cards, lost even faster. But there was one frustrating group, the ones who refused to lose. The ones who gave me crap for my cheesy deck, and well, you're right, but I do it anyway, right? Even the ones who defended well and positioned their cards properly, but even if you resisted, you still ended up losing literally because of my deck and the level of my cards. They were a steamroller that crushed any opponent who stood in our way, especially thanks to my PEKKA, and in the matches where the first PEKKA I played didn't manage to take down all 3 towers, I would play my evolved PEKKA, which obviously would, since most people here don't know that its ability makes it heal for each defeated unit. So they defended it pretty badly, and it would heal itself with the defeated units. Everything was in my favor to climb arenas super fast until I ran into players who had been playing for 5 years, who had cards from other arenas and at very high levels. But come on, if you've been playing for 5 years, can't you play the Hog Rider? And even though he put up a fight, he obviously ended up losing. Even against people who spend money on the game, the matches were easy. Like Salem, what's that music? He had the pass Royale, so we can assume he spends money on the game, but that wasn't an obstacle for my PAKKA. Wizard and Prince to get the 3 crowns in less than a minute. In fact, this pattern of winning by 3 crowns repeated throughout the whole run. As you can see here, I won absolutely every match with 3 crowns. This made it so that in less than half an hour of gameplay, we reached the next arena. In the first match here, the opponent went all in at the bridge, and that's the worst mistake someone can make against this deck, since by default defending it with very little elixir. Elixir will build our push with PAKKA from the back and win the match in just over a minute. In fact, I played another match to see if my deck was still viable, and in that match, what is that fireball? I realized that my opponents were catching up to me in card level, even surpassing me, like that baby dragon at level 10. But that didn't stop my deck from still being very strong, but it did make me realize that I had to keep improving my deck or else I would fall behind my opponents. I quickly bought a gold offer to keep improving my deck, and I took advantage of it to level up the cards that were falling behind in my deck. Like the prince, the goblins, the arrows, or even the wizard. I also leveled up the PEKKA, which was my main win condition and a really good defense. Once again, I jumped into a match, and this time it was against another gemmer. He had a very high level and a way of attacking that was very similar to mine, although he was actually pretty bad. This allowed my first push to deal catastrophic damage to his tower. Well, actually, it took it down. His card level was nothing to scoff at, and I realized it was going to be a very tough match, although this fear disappeared when he missed the fireball. He laughed about it, and I laughed too because I knew I was going to win the match. I dropped a PEKKA from the back, and the story was the same as in every previous match. We won by 3 crowns, and after half an hour of playing, we left the rich account here. And to check how good his progress was, we have to play on the poor account. I started playing the account with no money in a lower arena. Since this is where we left off in the previous episode, claiming the only thing I can claim, which is the free stuff. And I noticed that the folks at Supercell lowered the price of their offers. It's a good move, but here I can't spend money, thanks Supercell. With what I got for free, I upgraded some cards and jumped into matches. Determined to recover the 600 trophy lead that the rich account already has over us, we played the first match where we defended against the first giant, and the accumulated spam made us take down all 3 towers very quickly. But there was a problem. I didn't have a clan, which is a very interesting source for getting cards for free, either by requesting them or through clan wars. So I rushed to join one and found one that hates the barbarian hut. They're literally my family, my people, my pack. I found my home. Then I kept playing and ran into an even bigger problem. My arrows weren't strong enough to be used in this arena, although for now, I had no way to upgrade them. And obviously I kept playing since it's still a really good card for defense and for winning matches quickly. Thanks to my attacks with Giant and a lot of spam, we climbed a few trophies, but the match against Jokerman made me realize that I needed to change something. He opened the match defending against my Giant with well-placed bomber and cannon. I immediately launched my arrows to damage that structure and take out that bomber, but that's where the problem with my arrows was. And because of that, my push was in vain. The match went on. He attacked me. I defended and took damage. I responded by attacking, but my pushes with Giants were quickly neutralized because my arrows didn't do enough damage. I had to solve it quickly, or else I was going to lose 30 trophies and get further and further away from the rich account. So I stopped relying on my Giant and started attacking with goblins, which worked. I damaged his tower, and with another good Giant attack, I connected and won a match by the skin of my teeth. It was an obvious sign that I realized I was way behind my opponents. But I anticipated it, and before I started losing because of my arrows level, I opened a lot of free rewards. First lucky chests, and then from the trophy road, which gave me the necessary cards and another important card that wouldn't be useful. Later, with the upgraded arrows, I went into the match and the difference was noticeable, but not necessarily because of them. I won this match, so I joined another one, convinced that the problem had been solved, which was a very obvious mistake. I ran into Victor, who, yes, has a very generic name. In fact, he looks like a bot, but he's not. Or if he is a bot, he's a really evil one because he was running 2 buildings. This made my attacks with Giant literally useless. On the other hand, his pushes with Battle Ram kept doing more and more damage to my tower, to the point where it was left really low. I took a risk with one last strong double Giant push, but it was useless. The guy had 2 buildings, you get what I mean? It was impossible to get through with Giant, but the next match was the last straw. My opponent attacked with a seemingly harmless Battle Ram and Musketeer push, but it was actually quite damaging. After that, another basic push with Valkyrie, Mini PKK, and Minion made me lose the tower, and then he combined strategies and took down all 3 of my towers. At that moment, I knew I had to change something or else I wasn't going to make it to Arena 4, but I didn't open any free rewards since I had run out of them. Instead, I completely restructured my deck, swapping out my archers for a better option. Valkyrie, which would solve my obvious problem on defense, and my spear goblins for a mega minion. A pretty strong card for defense that doesn't die to arrows, unlike the spear goblins, and that works really well in attacks with giant. I upgraded my cards and jumped back into a match, convinced that now I would reach Arena 4. We ran into a really wild guy who went all in at the bridge, but my restructured deck defended really well. Then we defended his barbarians with a mega minion just as planned. We counterattacked with our giant, which worked really well because we won by 3 crowns. Now defense stopped being a problem and this helped us keep winning, and we made it to Arena 4 just in time. But the differences with the rich account are quite obvious. The first and main one that became evident throughout the whole video was how differently each account wins matches. While the rich account wins by sheer brute force, almost without thinking about the matches, the poor account already has to think of strategies to beat the opponents. This is due to the pure difference in the cards found, in addition to the obvious difference in card levels. In terms of trophy difference, it's a bit closer. Although the rich account has one more arena, there's only a difference of just over 300 trophies between them. So I think we're doing very well with the progress on the free-to-play account. So I started playing with the rich guy's account with an obvious problem. Even the rich have problems, and in this case it was gold, you'll see. I have enough wild cards to upgrade my entire deck to level 14, but the problem is that the gold just isn't enough. Since literally this is one of the most valuable and scarce resources in new accounts, but was there a way to solve it? So I left my tablet to go to the Supercell store where I can find lots of gold offers. Once on the page, I put all the gold offers I found into my cart. We add the creator code, always supporting Josie7. Now everything I paid for showed up in my account. I claimed all those purchases, and even though they came with a lot of extra wild cards, what we really wanted was the gold to upgrade our cards. With the help of the offers, we got an additional 600,000 gold, enough to upgrade our deck quite a bit, since today I at least wanted to move up 2 arenas. At first, I thought about completely remodeling my deck since it's a bit weak, not having win conditions and relying 100% on damage cards for its attack. And even though my collection only had 2 win conditions unlocked, neither of them really fit my deck, so I just improved it by upgrading the deck. I leveled up, unlocking new King's Chest, thus getting a new win condition, which in fact can be used very effectively with PEKKA. But I just ignored it so I could finally start climbing trophies. Already in the first match, I realized the strategy I needed to follow to beat my Arena 5 opponents. In this match, my opponent started off really strong, attacking me with everything. I, like any normal person, tried to defend as best as I could, but doing so only hurt me incredibly. Literally, it made the match drag on longer than it needed to. So for the second attack, I simply copied the strategies that some Clash Royale players use. Golem players, me, literally, I'm a golem player, so I know it very well, very well. It's the one where if you don't see it, it's not there. And with the help of my most excellent wizard, and PEKKA evolved to a stratospheric level. We won the match, but I repeat, I didn't like this start because it took too long. For the next matches, I took the rule of not defending more seriously. A move taken straight from golem players, and as I mentioned before, I'm a golem player myself, so I know it perfectly. I didn't defend, or if I did, I was a player looking for the best possible elixir trade. Also, I realized that I shouldn't leak elixir. Doing so meant wasting time, which is the same as losing trophies. Why? You might be asking yourself. Because literally, my elixir was worth more than my opponent's, since my cards, being considerably higher level than theirs, made the minimum cost to defend against them much higher. To put it simply, my opponent spent a lot of elixir defending against my high level cards. Even though my P.E.K.K.A, Prince, and Mini P.E.K.K.A were still the main focus of my attack, you have no idea how good the wizard was. On offense, it wiped everything out, and for defense, it was the best card in the game. I'm not lying when I say that in these arenas, it can literally be considered the best card in the game, by far. It's strange for me to say this considering I hate the wizard, but I can't deny that it worked incredibly well. Because of its excellent performance, I gave the wizard one more level even though I really didn't want to level it up any further. My deck, since it won't be the final deck we'll use throughout the whole journey, but just a temporary one. And doing it, even if we're rich, would be a pretty unnecessary waste of resources. And although I consider myself to be much better than my rivals in these arenas, based on my own experience with this game, like I keep saying, the high level of my cards made me win many matches without even having used the full deck of cards, sometimes using 6 or even fewer cards. That was enough for me to win the match. And so, we quickly climbed up to the PKKA's playhouse. When we got there, we opened event chests where I got some very useful cards like Mini PKKA, well, didn't you? And which a card that at first glance is better than the wizard. In fact, I personally think it's actually better than the wizard. Although I decided to keep the wizard in my deck because he was simply being the MVP of my matches and it wouldn't be fair to take him out. So I kept playing and I was more and more convinced that our deck was a real gem. Its 8 cards complemented each other very well, and throughout the matches I realized how absurdly dominant it was against my opponents. It's good to have high level cards, but if your deck doesn't work well together, you won't get far. It seems weak, but the role of each card is very well distributed. P.E.K.K.A is the main tank and win condition, although its real role is as a defensive tank. We weren't using it at all. So the wizard, the most versatile card and really the best card right now, the mini PE of the prince. We were using it for support and cover for quick pushes. The arrows are excellent for clearing out trash, and the cycle cards, well, they're just there as fillers. We had to have something. So we kept climbing in an arena where more and more counters show up, like the Inferno Tower. But it's not a big problem since we were able to neutralize it pretty easily. And once we reached 1,800 trophies, we ran into Totosina, which might sound like a pretty funny name and at first glance seems harmless. But that was not the case at all, since he was the first person I'd faced in more than 400 trophies who could defend against me. Indeed, a full push, which at first glance seems easy, but believe me, it's not. Literally, no one else was able to do it. He really put me in a tough spot with a giant plus a witch at the bridge. It was a good idea in theory, but in practice it worked out pretty badly for him since I defended it for just 3 elixir. And this is how we beat the opponent who gave us the most trouble throughout our entire run. After claiming the event rewards, we got a new and important card, our first legendary card on this account, the Royal Ghost. And even though my deck had been working incredibly well up to that point, I decided to put the Royal Ghost in instead of the Mini PKKA to give us a bit more versatility. And so my deck wouldn't be so offensive and could perform better in closer matches by leaving the Mini PKKA behind. We lost a lot of DPS in our deck. That is, even though we have a new legendary card in our deck, we lost a lot of damage output. Since the Royal Ghost, while it does have pretty good damage, the Mini PKKA is naturally a high DPS card, meaning that if it connects to the tower, you lose the match. Although this sounded really good in theory. My first match with the Royal Ghost was a disaster. Not because we lost, but because it took us a long time to win the match. Although that's not necessarily why I took out the Royal Ghost, and in the following matches it performed much better. In fact, it was the one that got me to Arena 7. Our stats up to this arena are literally insane. As you can see here, we were winning a match every minute and every win was by 3 crowns. But, as I always say, we don't know if the progress was good until we play with the poor account, so we went ahead and played with the poor account with a pretty big problem. That's because the rich account already has twice the trophies of this one. This means that from now on, and at this very moment, we need to progress super fast because this account is definitely falling way behind in terms of progress. In fact, to progress faster, you suggested that I play Royal Tactics, since in this game mode, I can get cards from other arenas without spending a single cent. And in theory, this sounds really good. In fact, I would do it if we didn't have limited time, and the thing is, playing Royal Tactics would keep us from climbing trophies. It may not seem so, but it also helps the account keep progressing. They also suggested using the Supercell store to recycle. A lot of free rewards. Well, the concept of a lot here falls a bit short. So, we didn't have many free things to rely on to improve our deck, and buying a few huts in the store, we jumped into a match very quickly, but in the first game against a guy who seemed pretty harmless, we started to struggle a lot. Everything started out normal. He attacked softly and I defended, responding with a somewhat heavy counterattack, but after a minute into the game, I could see that the match was going to be very tough. He had Witch and Royal Ghost, two higher rarity cards that I don't have yet and that aren't from these arenas. And even though I managed to hold out pretty well in this match until overtime, which is an achievement in itself, I couldn't spend all my time defending, so I counterattacked to see if I could scrape up some trophies. And in a very risky move, where I used up all my elixir to try to come back in the match, I was left without any defenses and a prince connected. Then another attack landed and I lost the match. It wasn't that catastrophic because it was the first match and we only lost 6 trophies. But it was an early warning that I needed to change my deck or I simply wouldn't be able to win any more trophies. I opened my only 2 kings chest looking for a new card to help improve my deck. And 59 goblins, seriously? Although they actually did help me because they were in my deck and I also upgraded the musketeer. I really couldn't do much more because my card collection is pretty small. So I went into a match with the goal of gaining trophies so I could unlock the rewards from the trophy road. In this new match, I started with a somewhat more defensive approach, but this worked against me, so I quickly switched to the opposite idea and started being much more offensive. And surprisingly, even though my deck is full of slow cards that aren't good for quick counterattacks, it worked when I returned to the main menu. Supercell! Our good friends at Supercell made this account, which was falling apart, do a complete 180 by giving me 14 wizards. The card we were looking for, which would help us gain a lot of trophies, I upgraded along with a few other cards. And once again, we had another important piece of news. We reached King level 7, unlocking the Pass Royale already. And even though we can't buy it, since we don't have any money, it's the best source of free rewards in this game. So we quickly jumped into a match with that goal in mind. Now, besides climbing trophies, we tried to win with as many crowns as possible to get more and better rewards. From the Pass Royale, something that the new card in my deck, the Wizard, made possible, just like it happened with the Rich account, the Wizard. He was the MVP of absolutely all my matches, which reinforces my opinion that the Wizard in these arenas is by far the best card in the game. He defended, was useful for counterattacks, and was even drooled over. The dishes, literally. I have a lot to thank him for, both on the Rich account and on this one. That way, he made the matches so easy that now winning by 3 crowns wasn't a bold move. And actually, this wasn't just useful because besides winning matches quickly and climbing trophies really fast, it also helped us complete the Pass Royale and earn even more rewards, which for now we didn't claim, but they would be useful to us later on until we faced Alexito. Because people with harmless names are always the ones who make my life difficult. The first match after including the Wizard in my deck where I practically couldn't touch his towers until a minute into the game. In an attack that, although it was strong, he defended incredibly well. In fact, I tried several more times, but Alexito had a completely defensive deck. And although the Wizard was putting on a masterclass like in every match, a single card can't win the game. His attacks weren't particularly strong, but his defenses were incredibly good, making us reach overtime. And my only way to break through his strong defense was by making a double giant attack, which he managed to defend at first, but it left him without elixir. For my real giant attack, which ended up winning the match, with just a few seconds left. After that, there were no more complications, and with just 5 trophies left to move up to the next arena, I realized that I had been kicked out of my old clan, which was like my family. Well, at least that's how I considered them, so I looked for a new clan. But what's with that name? Nah, man, can't they write proper descriptions? I joined this clan and asked for some giants. Our main win condition so far? Well, the cards they can donate to me are just a few, only 2, but it always helps. I won the next match with a great MVP Wizard and we moved up an arena. Our time was up. But the course of this day on the poor account got better as the day went on. A day where everything seemed lost for the poor account. We started off losing. We couldn't improve our deck until the beloved Wizard arrived and carried us to this arena. The differences between the rich account and the poor account are already very obvious. The rich account practically doubles the trophies of the poor account and doubles the level of its decks. It has a massive amount of gems and gold, much more than the poor account. Meanwhile, the rich account crushes all the opponents it faces, while the poor account, although it picked up near the end thanks to that good Wizard who gave us a great set, some matches get complicated for it, and that happens fairly often. I started playing with the rich account, and our first goal today was to build a new deck, since the previous one was getting a bit outdated. Or at least that's what I thought. And for that, I had to get new cards and level them up, but we had a level restriction. And today we can't upgrade cards above level 12 because soon the level 16 update will come out, which will change the rules a bit. Basically, it was easier to level up cards from level 12 onwards, and if we do it now, it would just waste resources. But that didn't stop me from starting by claiming a bunch of rewards from the mud already in the past. We'll see. Let's see how much gold it gives us. Gems, wild cards, and new cards to build my deck. Although the only thing I want to unlock is the balloon, since it's my favorite card in this game. I hope Supercell gives it to me, please. We have 600,000 gold, 3,600 gems, and these wild cards, which are a lot, and 37 cards unlocked. So I went ahead and claimed all those rewards. A king's chest that trolled us gave us 3 epic cards, 2 of them new, but not the balloon. 25 lucky chests, 8 of them 1-star, 9 special, 7 3-star chests, and 1 legendary, 2 magic chests, 9 gold chests, 4 giant chests. Getting an extra 70,000 gold, 140 gems, and over 3,000 cards. Also, we unlocked 6 new cards, but not the balloon, but that didn't matter to us, since we can unlock new cards with the help of our credit card. My idea was to build a completely new deck, so I got the evolved Goblin Giant. And then the Pass Royale to form a new and powerful deck that would compete directly with my old deck. To see which one performs better in the arena, and after hours of thinking about it, just kidding, it was 5 minutes. This is my new and powerful deck. Basically, the Goblin Giant is the win condition, the PKKA is for defending, Prince and Ghost to support, as well as the Witch. But this one has 6 area damage cards, a lot of spam, and zap to reset possible Inferno Towers. I leveled up my entire deck using wild cards and gold from previous offers to get my deck to the level of decks several arenas higher. But the real question was, will it be better than my old deck? For that, I went into a match to test and compare my new deck with the old one. Will it be more effective? Will I win faster? All of that, and even more, I would put to the test in the following matches. In the first one, I started by using PKKA for its true role as a defensive tank. My opponent baited out my zap, and because of that, he defended against PKKA very easily. Then I made a quick push, where I took advantage of baiting out my opponent's arrows to attack with my skeleton army. But from there, everything got stuck. My next attack, with Giant, Goblin, and Witch, didn't get very far, and I ended up winning the match once double elixir started, which is really bad considering this is an account that should be crushing all the opponents. I switched back to my old deck to see if my deck had failed me or if the opponents were simply good enough to hold their own against me in the matches. In this new match, I started by defending a 12 elixir push with just 5, giving me an absurd advantage over my opponent, which I took full advantage of to win the match before a minute had even passed since it started. This gave a point in favor of my old deck, but it still wasn't enough proof that it was really better than my new deck, so I played another match where I defended again. Cheap 10 elixir with 8. This gave me some advantage, and I took down the first tower. I started again with my basic push, but strong from the back, and I won the match. And although my old deck had performed very well, with solid defense and better attack, I decided to give the new deck another chance, which is quite strong on paper. And besides, I spent quite a few dollars. It was a match where my opponent easily defended my first attack, something that doesn't happen with the other deck. And also, although I did manage to win with my second attack, it took a bit too long and I wasn't completely convinced. With this, I realized that my old deck, although apparently weak, was actually much better than my new deck, which in theory should have crushed my opponents faster. But that didn't happen. So I made the decision to keep climbing, earning trophies with the help of PEKKAs, princes, and wizards who had been with me through several arenas. On this account, in fact, I was winning by playing very few cards, and in most matches I didn't even use my full deck because it's so strong. We're talking about climbing trophies by playing just 5, 6, or 7 cards. My wizard gave me amazing elixir trades, simply one of the most underrated cards in the whole game. And what about the prince's PEKKA? And the junk cards were doing their job perfectly. I was winning matches every minute. The only Arena 7 match that was tough for me was the last one, where a really annoying opponent matched up with me. Latin American internet made them destroy my tower, but he got overconfident and I won the match, although not as quickly. Already in Arena 8, the third world internet started acting up in a match that seemed easy and already won. But boom, there it was to mess up my life, the Latin American internet. When I got back to the game, they had defended my push and were coming for the counterattack. I tried to deploy a prince, but once again the internet wouldn't let me, and it seemed like I was going to lose the match. When I came back and it sent me back to the main menu, it was clear whether I had lost or won that match. And when I watched the replay, I realized that it did let me deploy the prince, and the guy lost the match against someone who wasn't even connected. What a guy! But that was my only setback, and I kept climbing trophies through Arena 8 and Arena where I kept winning quickly. But I was also running into weirder and weirder people, like, for example, this guy who had a super fast goblin cycle. Honestly, I don't know what his real goal was, if he even had one. Unlike this guy, there are people who actually know what they're doing. This forces me to play with a lot more brains, like, for example, putting into practice the defend then counter-attack tactic. Yeah, I just made that up, but it consists of placing the wizard on this square so that after defending he can redirect. That way it supports my attacking card, which in this case would be the PEKKA. Defending and counter-attacking, leaving my opponent with very few chances to defend against my super counter-attack. Things like this show how smart I am. Actually, it was my good deck and my very high card levels that made getting through Arena 8 a complete joke. We already have 2,600 trophies while the poor account only has 1,300, but this isn't over yet because we still have to play with the poor account. I started with the poor account, evaluating what I could do with my gems and gold to progress as quickly as possible. Every day I tried to do the same thing and I can never get anything done. One option was to play events, but I didn't have any active ones. The second was the shop, but I couldn't spend any dollars. But I did buy wizards with the in-game gold and considered buying a lightning chest for 250 gems, but I decided against it because we're in a very low arena. And maybe I'll do it in the Royal arena, where I have a real chance of getting a balloon or a PAKKA. My only way to boost my account now was the Pass Royale, where I had unclaimed past rewards. They gave me some gold and 2 cards I don't use at all. Thanks, Supercell. So I went into a match with the deck, which after 4 days is still revolving around the giant, just like at the start of the game. What if, even though it's one of the few win conditions available in this arena, that's actually the problem? It's not necessarily a bad card, but it's very easy to take down, even for new players who usually have mini PKKs, buildings, and other options in these arenas. Win conditions that are a bit more effective make this combination of having a less effective win condition. Facing decks that were very defensive but powerful on the counter-attack meant that, although the matches were still somewhat easy. I mean, look at how these guys attack. It's impossible to lose. They were long and frustrating because my pushes, even though sometimes they were strong and as powerful as a solid rock, usually made up of a wizard for clearing, a mini PEKKA to take out my tank. If it's a giant tank, they're still simple pushes that, if well defended with well-placed cards, lose all their synergy. On the other hand, my opponents didn't have such strong cards, but they did have very heavy ones like the Battle Ram. Even though it's an easy card to defend and opponents usually use it pretty badly, it's really good for quick counterattacks that always manage to get at least a little bit of damage. Cards like the mini PKKA or well-placed structures in general, not like that one, were also a headache because they made things really difficult. No matter how good the opponent is, it always reaches the tower, and at least one was always present in every deck, making it so that if it weren't for the opponent's mistakes, my attacks wouldn't amount to anything. Because of the simple rule that the opponent's cards, in most cases, considering the little variety that exists in these arenas, counter me very well. This reduced my chances due to the archetype of my own deck and the opponent's cards. There are 3 ways to climb trophies, 2 in the short term and 1 in the long term. 1, the most obvious, is to take advantage of the opponent's mistakes. 2, if the opponent was at least somewhat competent. My only way to try to win, since the chances of winning matches where you almost always get counter after counter are very low, it was about going from simple pushes to double pushes, and the third one, in the long run, I should find a way to restructure my entire deck, since it's impossible to keep climbing forever with a basic giant deck and taking advantage of opponents' mistakes. If they always defend poorly and allow troops to pile up, which is the worst mistake against someone using a heavy deck. Also, another card started to bother me. Although I didn't notice it at first, thanks to the wizard in my deck, I started to realize it. In the match against Niño Queso, by the way, well, was it the Barbarians? A card that I had been running into since Arena 3, but now at at a high level. Hard to defend against without a Valkyrie, a Wizard, or a Fireball, and they could neutralize almost any attack, especially those that included a Wizard. What should someone do in that case? Just close the game? No, just kidding. What I did in my matches was to support your tank with area damage cards to clear things out. In this case, the Barbarians. They were so annoying that they wouldn't let me reach the enemy towers. Or if the opponent was good, in this case, didn't we have to find a way to deal with those Barbarians? A slightly more complex strategy that I already had to put to the test in this arena. This made me generally take on a more defensive, passive, and aggressive role in matches. Even though I attacked, I tried to take advantage of the opponent's mistakes, like wasting elixir or cards. Keys to going all in and winning matches, which worked fairly well. Even though I didn't win matches that quickly, it made me a defensive rock. Losing trophies was tough for me. Now onto the promotion match. I had to face a Korean opponent, which always means danger, but at first it seemed like it was going to be easy. Extremely easy, but nothing could be further from the truth. Did I know the guy's clan? Besides facing a pretty brutal hard counter, this made the match go into overtime, and I was losing. To have any chance in this match, I had to apply my previous 2 tips. Take advantage of the few mistakes my opponent made, and launch double attacks to overwhelm their defenses. And at first it didn't work for me. I couldn't cycle, since his entire deck was a hard counter to mine, until I was finally able to overwhelm him and move up to Arena 6. I took advantage of being in Arena 6 to claim some chests. And with that, the king stuff, since just by being in a higher arena, we would get more and better rewards. Thanks to this, I got the guards, which I quickly swapped in for the goblins in my deck. I jumped into a match to try out my new addition and ran into more problems. The opponents had access to the P.E.K.K.A., one of the best counters not only for the giant, but for my entire deck archetype. And in this case, the guards were my buffer. Not only because without them, I definitely would have lost the match, but also because of the situations that came up. With the cards that are common in these arenas, they are simply a better option than the stab goblins. The matches, even though they started to be against tougher opponents with cards I don't have and that counter me more, incredibly thanks to this card that seems weak, were actually easier. And when time was almost up, my Latin American internet came back and made me lose the last and only match of the day. On the poor account, everything already points to both accounts following irreversibly different paths. On day 1, the difference was 200 trophies. On day 2, it was already 350. On day 3, it shot up to 700. And on day 4, we're talking about almost 1,000 trophies difference, although trophies aren't the only thing that's different. The rich account has 13 more cards unlocked, including many epic and legendary ones. Remember, the poor account got its first epic today. We started playing with the rich account, and today would be a very important day for it. On paper, we'd unlock the full potential of what a pay-to-win account can offer, at least in theory, thanks to 2 important events that took place recently in the game. 1, the new level 16 makes upgrading cards easier, thanks to the complete restructuring of the progression system and the in-game economy. And 2, outside of my tablet, Black Friday, where I didn't hesitate to buy absolutely every available offer that included evolutions. Even if we don't use them, since P.E.K.K.A. is our best option right now, and hundreds of wildcards using, obviously, the code Josie7, the code Josie7. And on top of all that, we got maybe the most important card in the whole challenge, Balloon. Therefore, even though our previous deck had performed perfectly in earlier arenas, it was undoubtedly becoming a bit outdated since it didn't have a clear win condition. That's why I created a third deck that revolves around what, in my opinion, is without a doubt the best win condition for lower arenas. Arenas that are full of wizards and witches, which are definitely default counters to the balloon. But here, you don't usually see as many buildings, hunters, inferno dragons, or cards that deal heavy anti-air damage like you do in higher arenas, which would easily destroy my balloon. A deck where we put all our resources and got it to an absolutely ridiculous level. This, along with P.E.K.K.A. tanking for the balloon and a support card, essentially makes it a P.E.K.K.A. push. Witch and balloon made the matches. Guess what? Still easy. We're 9 arenas into this game, and without a doubt, the most difficult ones were the first 3. But all of this fell apart in the third match, where I was feeling great after 2 victories that I got quickly and almost effortlessly, and convinced that it was thanks to my powerful new deck. I started by making a move that, in my mind, made perfect sense. A level 13 balloon accompanied by a witch would destroy the tower of a poor casual Arena 9 player, right? No! Never get overconfident because of your high card levels or your pushes that seem strong at first. Never, never, never. This is something I learned in this arena where I started to become extremely aggressive. Literally, I've never played so offensively on any account. And while this makes sense, since I had powerful cards, evolved, and at sky-high levels, that doesn't guarantee anything. Because against real people who by Arena 9 already start to have some experience and understanding of the game, they do make mistakes, but they're minimal, and usually they already have tools to defend themselves. These strong pushes in acceptable ways make it so that in matches you have to be aware and not just throw cards randomly, relying on your high level. This doesn't mean that we lost in Arena 9, or that it was hard for us to get through this arena. In fact, this is the best way I can describe my experience going through Arena 9. Yeah, literally, my balloon melted a full health king tower. What the F? Do you remember when I said my opponents already had tools to defend against my heavy pushes or something like that? It was just 2 minutes ago. I'd worry if you forgot. Actually, I lied. This card combination was so freaking strong that my opponents could only sit and watch as they lost 30 trophies. And that's how we reached Arena 10, an arena that's not that important, but it does give us access to an arena that is Arena 11. For me, it's the most important arena for the pay-to-win account, since this gives us access to legendary cards with unique abilities that are really good. Okay, no, but they can definitely increase our deck's power. Playing in Arena 10 was very similar to the previous arena. Basically, the matches were almost the same, just with a different background skin, opponents with the same level of gameplay, cards, and towers as the previous arena, and with intelligence way below average, just like the previous arena. Yes, they did have new cards available in this arena, but they used them in a very questionable way. Like I said, intelligence above average, although in reality, this was the exception. And did they defend relatively well, although sometimes not so much? And what about the tactical freeze? Their biggest problems were again my main push with PKK, Balloon, and Witch. And what about when this didn't work or I didn't have it in the cycle? I took advantage of the spam in my deck to play like a true log bait player, using my win condition spam. This mix of things where my deck was exclusively offensive allowed me literally in just 1 hour of gameplay to get to literally 1 trophy away from the next arena. Josie, are you moving up to the next arena? I'm not gonna move up to the next arena. Why? Because I can't be bothered. So I logged into the free-to-play account, where today would also be a very important day for it. Not just because of the restructuring of levels and the game economy, but also because I started by claiming the first evolution for this account. Was it free thanks to Super Hunter? A card from Arena 10, although it's from 4 arenas above, doesn't necessarily mean it's vital or super strong. But it does become part of my deck, simply because an evolution is a plus in my matches. Adding it to my deck meant making a completely new one. Since the deck we have is the same one that's been with us since Arena 1, we've just been adding new cards to it. I bought the Goblin Barrel in the shop so I wouldn't rely entirely on the Giant to win. And I added some spam to try to bait out enemy spells, keeping support and defensive cards to back up my Giant, and I went into play for the first time on this account with a completely new deck. Well, not that much because we're still relying on this big guy, but you get what I mean. And the first matches were chaos. Opponents who didn't stop attacking for even a second. This didn't allow me to make strong pushes, and that's where my Goblin Barrel came in. A 3 elixir card that, combined with almost everything in my deck, has the ability to destroy towers. This new addition meant I didn't have to rely on big pushes and could poke the tower while defending comfortably, although logically only when my opponent allowed it. I did resort to my strong Giant attacks, since it's not a deck designed to poke enemy towers like the typical log bait. That way, I started getting some crowns, and for the first time, earned rewards from key events to max out my account without spending a single cent on them, besides getting cards and win conditions that I don't use as usual. Thanks to Super, I got a lot of arrows, giving me the chance to upgrade this important spell to a pretty good level. Also, I swapped the wizard for the baby dragon. Yeah, I betrayed him. Literally, it's the card that has performed the best throughout this account's journey, but having it together with the hunter seemed a bit redundant to me. The baby dragon functions like the wizard, but deals less damage and has slightly more health. For less elixir, with the unique ability to destroy structures from the river, something that was really useful for me, especially in the first match where I played baby dragon. It was noticeable and I won without any problem. In the next match, the difficulty started to increase. An opponent who played a giant deck with Witch and Inferno Tower, a nightmare for my deck, no matter how you look at it, and he started by beating me. In fact, I couldn't even touch his tower during the entire regular match time. This allowed me to use my Evolved Hunter for the first time, which was a great help to stop his giant. And with an age-old trick, I placed a barrel behind his tower. After turning around a very tough match, the following games were really crazy. In fact, you could say that playing in Arena 6 is like playing a game of roulette. In one match, you can win with a simple push against a stronger opponent, but in the next, you might face the perfect counter to your deck, in which just reaching the tower is quite a feat, although for that I had my trusty Goblin Barrel. In this arena, there are only two cards that can perfectly defend against it, Arrows and Fireball. The latter isn't seen very often, so using it practically guaranteed me constant damage in every one of my matches. And although it was a bit of a roulette of luck, there was an unmistakable pattern in each of my opponents. People in Arena 6 make attacking their main tactic. Yes, you need to attack to win in this game, but these people take it very literally. They use anything to do it, especially damage cards used at the bridge. Because yes and no with a clear strategy. And cannons, of course, cannons. I hadn't thought of that. Bro literally thought it was a mortar that, as he advanced in the arena, would earn him crowns. It helped me get the important event chests, which were essential since they supplied my deck's arrows by giving me the cards I needed to level them up. At level 9, you can't imagine how important it is to have high-level arrows. This saves us from really annoying problems that I want to avoid. From previous arenas and without losing a single match, which is pretty rare, we moved up to the Royal Arena where I proceeded to claim the rewards from the past Royale. Thanks to our great crown haul, we got the Prince and the Witch, two important epics that have excellent synergy with the giant. I took out my Evolved Hunter, since in the matches it wasn't making much of a difference and was very situational, and I tried out my new deck in Arena 7. A very tough match, where it was hard for me to reach his tower, and when I finally did, I got so confident that I went straight for the King's Tower. I'm such a fool, although with a bit more effort, we ended up winning the match. The Rich account is only 3 arenas ahead, which doesn't seem like much, but there's a difference of 1,400 trophies, and besides that, she has 4 more tower levels, cards at level 13 evolutions everywhere, way more gold, gems, and everything you can imagine. There's an important detail that really sets both accounts apart. The poor account has 72 wins, and 49 of those are 3 crown victories. This means that he wins almost 70% of his matches with 3 crowns, which is not bad at all. But if we look at the Rich account, the difference is huge. 115 wins, of which 114 are 3 crown victories. That is almost 99% of the matches. The Rich account not only wins, but completely crushes its opponents. And if you're asking why I'm wearing glasses now, it's because I'm an idiot. Just kidding. It's because when I play with the poor account, I won't wear the glasses, and because I'm an idiot, and starting with the Rich account. A day where everything can change for this account, because we're just 1 trophy away from Arena 11, and Arena 11 is not just any arena. It's where legendary cards start to appear like Inferno Dragon, Mega Knight, Lava Hound, or Sparky. There's some of the ones that, even though we don't need them right now because we have a very strong deck, getting them could help define the future of this account. But before getting that trophy, we have to do what's most painful. Make the wallet suffer. So, code Jose in the shop, guys. Did you hear me or not? Did you hear me? And the bottleneck for me right now is pretty clear. Gold and epic wildcards. Without those, I can't progress any further. My deck is mostly made up of epic cards. That's why we went straight to the Supercell store. Every purchase here will give us more items, more value, and more advantage for the Rich account. So we bought the gold and epic wildcard offers, and before paying for them, obviously we used the code Jose. Here, we're Giga Chad. Once claimed, we get 1,000,000 gold added to the account, and a lot of epic wildcards that we use to upgrade. The Skeleton Army and the Spear Goblins are support and completely secondary defense cards in our deck. But they raise the average level of the deck, making it harder to beat and stronger on defense. I also realized that I wasn't taking advantage of the 12 evolution slots we have, so I also bought the Evo Witch. Poor wallet. Now, while we have an ultra strong deck that's been performing perfectly, with these 12 evolutions, it will literally make my opponents tremble. I won't get that last trophy with this deck. Instead, I'll make my life harder for no reason and play with a completely random deck. Because here we love to make things harder for ourselves. The deck that Supercell will send us to fight our last match with is totally optional. By the way, it's a kind of giant deck. Goblin, that's actually pretty good, and to spice things up even more, we won't upgrade any cards, we're going to suffer. Damn. You're aware that we're in the last match of this arena, and we have a totally horrible deck, right? Well, apparently my opponent is even worse. We start with a nicely defended Electro Spirit. We'll use this Goblin Cage to tank those skeleton dragons since I don't see any other use for it. It's literally level 4/4 and the Electro Spirit is simply our wild card for cycling. Look how weak these cards are, man. Incredible. Our only way to win this match is with our evolved cards and the opponent's fireballs. We take advantage of our evolved cards to support them with a good Dark Prince who will act as a mini tank and damage card along with some good arrows to deal a lot of damage to their tower. I thought I didn't think I'd get a chance to use the level 1 fireball, but it's actually a great way to defend against the Goblin Barrel for just 1 extra elixir. I'm a genius. This card is really useful even at level 1. I'm such a genius, my friend, that we're losing this match with only 10 seconds left before overtime. Incredible. But you know what's even more incredible? This guy's fireballs, folks. Let's take advantage of our last big push with double evolution. It's this or nothing, guys. It's this or nothing, guys. It didn't get anywhere, guys. It didn't get anywhere. Now it's time to defend with a Goblin Giant to distract those skeleton dragons and use a skeleton army for the miner. The Goblin Giant has been really important in this match. We're using him both on defense and offense. Without him, we'd probably already be lost. Now that we have him evolved, we're going all out on the attack because if we don't attack, how are we going to win, right? God, those fireballs, man. Come on, Goblin Giant. If we win the match, great, and we had reached the arena, which would open the door to stronger cards for us. And this at first seemed like it would forever change the way this account progressed, but I was somewhat mistaken since the progress remained very linear. I started playing in this arena with a deck that, although improved and with the Witch evolution, was still the same one we had created in Arena 9. This didn't make it obsolete, not at all. In fact, we still had a big advantage over our Arena 11 opponents who were very strange. Our journey in this arena began by facing a classic giant double prince deck. Even so, we won easily. Then Fireball, Bait, a somewhat easy match, a Log Bait, another Log Bait, and Expo. A very strange deck pattern, as if we were playing at 10,000 trophies. My first matches were only against classic and well-designed decks. This made me doubt, and I quickly discovered that they weren't real people, they were bots. I had to go through half the arena to face the first real person in Arena 11. I thought that after that match everything would change, but that's how my entire journey through Arena 11 was. Probably 9 out of the 12 opponents I faced here were just simple bots, with the mind of Patrick Star. But wait, I'm not complaining that I faced them with perfectly structured decks, but with the average intelligence of Patrick Star. For me, that's perfect, because in 30 minutes we were already in the next arena, where we reached what today is 30 of the possible trophies traveled in the game. We were still a bit low, but each time the difficulty of the matches gets a bit higher. And although I didn't have to think too much during the matches, since my deck is literally designed to build a push and win, that's exactly what started to fail. Before, my opponents couldn't stop even a simple but powerful push. Now I had to do it several times per match, making 30 trophies a bit harder to get. Harder, right? When it comes to hard-fought matches, that still wasn't happening. There are no closer hard-fought matches yet. It's just that my opponents had stronger cards and higher levels overall, which made 3 crown wins a lot less trivial. And even though bots kept appearing, in fact, about half of the matches in this arena were against them. Was something different happening compared to the previous arena? Even though they were still using decks, metas, or classics, I no longer had the mind of Patrick Star. And what if they were smart enough to use them? They even made my matches harder than matches against real people. And so, after an hour of playing, we reached the arena. 4,200 trophies. For the first time, we doubled the trophies of the poor account. That already gives us a clue about what money can do in Clash Royale. The poor account was already falling hopelessly behind compared to the rich account. And not just compared to it, but progress in some situations was becoming more complicated and we only had 1 hour left to make progress. I practically needed a miracle right from the start to face Arena 7. and almost as if Papa Super could read my thoughts. He gave me 2 P.E.K.K.A.s in the first chest I opened, allowing me to restructure my entire deck and with it, my way of playing and facing matches. Since the beginning of this account, it's been centered around the giant, and now, with another tank in my card collection, my deck went from revolving around elaborate giant attacks to a choice of cards. That simply works well around the P.E.K.K.A, since I consider this card to be very important and decisive in these arenas. I started by proving that my theory, which made the P.E.K.K.A the centerpiece of the deck, was a good choice. In one match, a well-supported P.E.K.K.A practically cracked the game open for me. And even though we won almost entirely thanks to the P.E.K.K.A, it wasn't enough proof that we had found the key that would get this account out of the hole it was stuck in. So I kept playing, and in the next match I realized that maybe I had underestimated the potential of the P.E.K.K.A. Even though it's an excellent card, this time the one completely responsible for the victory was the Witch. As I progressed through Arena 7, I realized that we had found the perfect deck to advance in this arena for the first time since Arena 1. Literally, we had strung together not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, but 6 straight 3-crown wins. Something historic on this account that had been struggling for every trophy in previous arenas. It didn't matter what win condition we faced, what kind of defense the opponent had, or even their card level. Our attack became so strong that no one was giving us any competition until the 7th match after climbing 200 trophies in this arena. We faced an opponent who had a very interesting defense against our deck. Not because he was good, are there even good players in Arena 7, but because he was very defensive. Even so, we won, but our streak of winning by 3 crowns had ended, and after a very easy match and another one that was really tough, we were in the game that would give us access to the next arena. We started by seeing a level 11 mini P.K.K. from our opponent. It was the highest level card this account had ever faced in its entire history. But the opponent's skill didn't match up, and a series of mistakes allowed my P.K.K.A. to make it 1-0 in my favor. I kept up the pressure, a pressure that our clumsy friend couldn't handle, and we were in Arena 8. A historic achievement since for the first time after the lower arenas, we had moved up to a new arena. At the same speed as the Rika account does, we were finally breaking the absolute gap that the rich account has over the poor account. We were pulling it off, and this motivated me to keep playing. Already into the first match in the new arena, against an opponent who seemed pretty weak, he was very defensive, making the match end in regular time. I shouldn't complain about losing a few seconds since we were doing well overall. We had a very strong deck, and we were advancing through the arena in record time, so I kept playing. But our opponents weren't the same anymore. Those times when we won by 3 crowns were already gone, even though they were literally just 20 minutes ago. Now, against different opponents, you could really notice the difference. No joke, the matches were much closer, and the opponents had serious chances of taking down my towers. And because of their mistakes or just plain greed, they couldn't pull it off. Plus, new cards started to show up, like the freeze spell. Oh, they're really good. Well, yeah, they didn't know how to use all the cards, but that doesn't mean they're not dangerous in the right hands. We also faced the first giant skeleton, a card that isn't that good by itself, but is still very dangerous. Both defensively, which is its main role, with its bomb that wipes out any attack, and if it reaches the tower, it becomes a really good win condition. The problem is that against good players, it rarely does, and I'm not a good player. Yes, exactly like that. I lost the first match of the day, but my spirits didn't drop, and I kept playing, winning the next match with 3 crowns. And even though it seems like everything went back to normal, it was just a spasm from a dying deck. And in the next match, Daniel gave us a majestic beating, sending us straight to the lobby to reflect on what we were doing wrong. And 16 freeze cards were the perfect excuse to take those ugly goblins out of my deck. And even though in the next match we faced a very heavy deck, having the new card in the right hands increases the power of any deck. Nah, not really, but many people don't expect you to be running freeze, so it often finishes matches. This gave us the surprise factor our deck was missing, although time ran out and we ended up this many trophies short of reaching Arena 9. A very similar day for both accounts, where one advanced 800 trophies, which is pretty wild, but the poor account wasn't far behind, advancing 500. But the important thing is, what kind of opponents did each account face? For some reason, for a strange reason, the rich account was up against bots in about 70% of its matches. Against bots, yes, with good decks and good level, but in the end, predictable bots. The poor account, on the other hand, probably faced 100% human opponents and still managed to impose its game plan. Well, let's see. We reached day 7 playing with two completely opposite accounts, one pay to win and the other not spending a single cent in Clash Royale. So far, the pay to win account has invested about $300 in the game and is in Arena 13, with over 4,000 trophies and an extremely solid deck, and it still hasn't lost a single match. Meanwhile, the free-to-play account has half as many trophies. Although this seems bad, which it is, in the last episode we found a deck that let it progress quickly. But when we reached Arena 8, doubts started to arise and we had to add that life-saving freeze spell that rescued us in the last matches. Although today, we're starting off playing with the pay-to-win account. And in less than 5 minutes, we unlocked 10 new cards. We even got our first champion chest with 10 ice wizards. Just to give you an idea, those 10 new cards we unlocked with hardly any effort represent almost 20% of all the cards that the free-to-play account took 7 days to unlock. That gives us an early glimpse of the outrageous power that money has in this game, which is accelerating the progress of this account tremendously. But before we start playing, we have some tasks to take care of with this account. Since it's a paid account, we were wasting a lot of resources. What does the game provide us completely for free? The first thing was to claim the rewards from the trophy road. Among them, we got 3 legendary chests that gave us duplicate legendaries and a giant chest that gave us another duplicate legendary. And the grand prize, a king's chest. With it, we unlocked several cards, and in the final choice was the one we really cared about, the miner. Our second task was along the same lines, not to keep wasting resources since I have the habit of not claiming the mastery rewards, so I can't progress to the next levels, where by dealing damage, playing the card, or killing units, you get gems, gold, or cards, resources that we were actually missing out on. Although after that came the part they like to make suffer the most, my wallet. Today we were going to spend money, but wisely. The opponents are getting stronger and stronger. So we need a plan to perfect the deck we already have, which has proven to be quite effective, starting by removing the Prince. And it's a card that has been useful so far but hasn't played such a central role. And if you analyze the deck objectively, it doesn't make much sense to keep it. We already have another damage card and it doesn't have good synergy with our win condition. So far it's worked because we've won by sheer brute force. But I suspect it won't work anymore in this arena since the opponents have a bit more IQ and they're not literally Patrick Star playing this game. That's why we're swapping it for the newly acquired miner, which has excellent synergy with our spam, witch, and balloon. In other words, with our whole deck, so we're really going to put him to work. We use all the legendary wild cards to make him competitive and use wild cards to level up goblins and witches too. After that, we went to the shop where we got more miners with real money, since at level 13 he'll be able to quickly take down ranged cards that bother our balloon. We head into our first match to put that miner to work, where we started with a standard play we've been repeating since Arena 7. But this is where one of my biggest counters to this push showed up, the wizard. That's when we sent our miner to work and took down that evil wizard. Then he tanked the tower, giving me such a huge advantage that it ended up between the towers. The next match was interesting because it was similar. I sent out my overworked miner again to take out another evil wizard who was behind a Mega Knight, allowing me to neutralize him. And with that seemingly simple advantage, the 3 crowns came once again. We kept climbing trophies, and for the first time we started getting matched against people who were seriously spending money on the game. In other words, losers like me. And this, even though I say it jokingly, means they have a card level pretty similar to mine, which means danger. Although in general, their way of attacking was very immature, so there's nothing to worry about. So even if the opponent's cards could go one-on-one against mine, my cards, if not used well, would be little more than a waste of elixir, which, when accumulated, end up giving me victories if my opponents make mistakes. It's logical. We're at 4,000 trophies against people who have only been playing the game for a few days or weeks. This means they don't really understand the synergy of the cards, or they don't know how to defend big pushes properly. Although their level is already a bit higher than in previous arenas, and it makes the matches a bit more difficult. And generally, a person from Arena 13 would play something like this against me. I took the initiative since this deck requires constant offense, and if the opponent managed to defend my first push, which wasn't rare, many times they assumed I couldn't afford to pressure again in the same way. So they tried to get ahead with quick attacks using 1 or 2 cards. The problem is that those counter attacks usually had little or no synergy over time, and as his desperation grew, I ended up winning in the elixir trade, which usually gave me the advantage I needed to open up the game and pave the way for my victories. In the next arena, my journey through Arena 14 seemed likely to mirror the previous one as I continued crushing opponents like like I have since starting this account. But in the following matches, that dominance was shaken. We were matched against an opponent with a peculiar name, no tower skin, and more importantly, no clan, clearly a bot or someone pretending to be one. I started offensively as I usually did until he responded with the two dragons I like the least. I hate running into both of them in the same deck, especially with an evolution. My first attack, although it did quite a bit of damage, was stopped, but I knew it wouldn't be an easy match, luckily for me. The central axis of the deck in its win condition was the useless mustached Electro Giant, so my PK was more than enough. But the dragons were really bothering me, my balloon attacks weren't getting through, and together they could do a lot of damage to me. Since I only had the Witch and cheap cards to defend against them, which aren't that effective. Although with the help of the Miner, we ended up rescuing 30 trophies from the tightest match of our entire journey. And in the next match, my Latin American internet gave me quite a scare. Luckily, my opponent didn't take advantage while I was disconnected and I ended up winning. After this, my journey was straightforward, maybe a bit harder than before, but without those past obstacles. And we brought the count to within 100 trophies of one of the most important arenas in the game. The start of the account that doesn't spend money was surprisingly impressive. We started by claiming King Chests, which brought 2 new and irrelevant cards, but still new, and then moved on to claim rewards from the past Royale. After that, we got even more new and irrelevant cards. Again, but at least they were new cards. If we had used up all our stash of free rewards to improve our deck and our Supercell buddies, did we only get new cards? Unlike the rich account, where spending money is good news because it lets us level them up to competitive levels and diversify our decks. But here, what do you want me to do with a level 2 card? Tell me this. So I upgraded the PKK and the Princess Tower and I was ready to dive into the matches with fear. Our deck had already shown that it struggled against compact, well-defended decks. It had a hard time reaching the tower. My barrel cycles slowly, and besides that, I don't have anything else. It's all just brute force. And here we don't have a card level higher than our opponents, so I'm at serious risk of losing. Partly because I'm terrible at playing this game. The first match brought me face to face with my biggest fear. People who use Minio, nah, just kidding. It was that we faced a guy who had a really strong attack, Giant Witch. Even with a counter, I respect that deck and all decks since I'm terrible. I took down the tower, but he quickly hit back with a fast, well-executed counterattack. Since I knew I didn't have my main weapon in cycle, although I managed to get by with the little I had. But his constant pressure and a beautiful prediction, I have to say, even I praised it, tied up the game. My praise for his prediction. Or maybe he's just an Arena 8 player who doesn't know much about the game. He got overconfident and thought he could destroy all 3 of my towers with a giant. At level 5, come on, the attack is strong, but let's be real, it's only level 5. That put him at an elixir disadvantage, and I pulled out my forbidden weapon to secure the win. The next matches were peculiar. First, well, judge for yourself. If that's what a Hog Rider lover is, I can't explain why he made that attack, which left him without elixir and completely exposed on defense. Well, I guess that's what a Hog Rider lover does. His way of attacking was weird, until the very last second, when it was obvious he would be completely destroyed. He kept attacking me with just 1 card per lane. This Hog Rider lover is unbelievable. Love for those pink creatures is growing since I had to play against the evil one. 2.6, or better known as the 2.6, one of the most annoying decks in the game, because when played well, it defends everything, and my deck is precisely hard to defend, isn't it? And the thing is, as it was going well, the guy started pulling off defense at a world-class level or something like that. I mean, what are you doing in Arena 8? You should be in the World Leagues, man. But it was just an illusion, because when I was against the ropes, I made a strong push that made the Hog Lover collapse. 2.0 a bit calmer now, we went back to the main menu, just 2 trophies away from moving up to the next arena. We unlocked the Giant Skeleton and the Skeleton Army with enough cards to level it up to level 9. The first one wouldn't be useful to us, but the Skeleton Army serves the same purpose as the guards. So we equipped and upgraded it to face Arena 9, an arena that, once again, has a lot of strange people. We started by winning the entry match for this arena. It was tough, hard fought, but normal, only to immediately run into this little gem. Thanks for the video. Obviously, he didn't have all his neurons in place, so I attacked him at his same intellectual level, and surprisingly, it worked. What do I like about this game? There are no weirdos here. Here we are, the weirdos, and I don't understand why it's so hard for them to use ice. Dude, we kept climbing trophies against normal people, apparently normal, who lost in a normal way. So the progress in the jungle arena was relatively normal, but there were 2 peculiar situations. The first one with the 3rd match in this arena. A guy with a strange name who started off scared. It made sense. He knew he was so bad at defending that taking down his first 2 towers wasn't a difficult task. The problem is that when the game was absolutely lost for this guy, he just decided to keep fighting. Not out of honor, he'd already lost that. It was awful, but just to irritate me. The nerve. I couldn't get the 3 crowns, but I still mocked him. The second one was 100 trophies away from Arena 10 against a guy who was very cocky, even though it didn't seem like it. He started by defending my strongest push with a good wizard and a freeze, and my second attack in a really easy way, so this guy knew what he was doing. In fact, he waited for me to deploy my second PEKKA to attack with his sneaky and powerful balloon, which he supported with a freeze. What a rat. My deck is weak against Balloon. Witch and Baby Dragon aren't good against this win condition. And my opponent knew it. With every attack, he destroyed me even more, and to top it off, he defended everything super easily. He, seeing this situation where he would obviously take 30 easy trophies, started mocking me, so my only option was to take a risk. I waited for him to waste elixir so I could make a quick attack, with which for the first time I reached the tower and won the match. Obviously, we cracked up, I kept climbing, and we reached Arena 10, so on this account, we advanced 500 trophies, 200 less than what the account with money did today. But let's not forget that we unlocked new cards and perfected the deck, so for the first time we got closer than the account with money pulled ahead in progress. Today is the most important day where I will play 2 Clash Royale accounts, and we're comparing an account that spends money with one that doesn't. Both created and played at the same time, although by this point they are 2 accounts in absurdly different situations. The clear resource gap between the 2 is immediately noticeable. This gives one account the ability to improve its deck, change it if it wants, try and rotate cards, and make mistakes. And the other is limited by the game's free resources, making it more rigid in how it plays and giving less room for error. This has impacted matches as the rich account with a higher level and better strategies wins faster and averages 4,000. It has 4,915 trophies, and the account without money is at 3,000, and as I said before, today is the most important day for the account with money. We are just 3 matches away from 5,000 trophies, where one of the most broken features in the game is unlocked. Champions and a slot in your deck so you can choose one. Currently, the game has 8 champions, and each of them can be acquired with real money. Some of them won't be useful to us at all, but others are broken, and the rest help us to vary our decks because we've been playing. Pick a balloon from the beginning of the game, but before climbing those trophies, we claimed some rewards from the trophy road. In total, there were 14 things, including chests, wildcards, gold, gems, and an emote, although honestly, there wasn't anything spectacular. The most important thing is that 9 new cards were added to our collection. Now I would play the 3 remaining matches. Since my main goal was the 5,000 trophies in the first one, only with 2 balloons. I destroyed my opponent. Not much else was needed to get the first 30 trophies at 4,944 trophies. They made the weirdest attack I've ever had in this game. What the hell? This obviously made him run out of enough elixir to defend my push properly, and we did a lot of damage. At that moment, I got so confident that I thought I had the game won, starting with a P.E.K.K.A from the back. What for? It was obvious the guy was missing a few brain cells. I mean, he was a balloon player and he threw it at my tower. We were losing. Maybe reaching 5,000 trophies wasn't an easy task. Maybe 5,000 trophies are the friends we made along the way. Now, we didn't worry, and 20 seconds were enough to tie the match. The opponent was so dazzled that he wanted to impress us with a great freeze. It was so good that it made him lose the match. A genius. We were already in the last match, but nerves don't exist on such a powerful account. Basically, the opponent started by giving away elixir and using up one of my best counters. Just that bad decision was enough to doom him and get me to the much coveted 5,000 trophies. Did entering this arena feel something like this? It's still delightful to see so many offers. I felt like spending money and going broke. My idea was to change my deck, which had been with us almost since the beginning of the game, and make new ones. With champions, I'd buy in the shop. So I went to ruin myself financially, where I started by buying wildcard offers, champion wildcards, and now we were finally facing the long-awaited champions. We wouldn't buy all of them, just the most broken ones or my favorites, the mini PEKKA, giant, and mega minion. We bought everything using the code Josias to support our humble and wonderful YouTuber. Already in the game, we claimed the 3 champions, my first champion that we won't use, but it's the first one, and all the other rewards that we would use today. Plus, a season chest. The champion gave me 1,000 mega minions that would be super useful because we have the champion. I think it was thanks to the code Josias. No, just kidding. I created 3 decks to try out each of the different champions I bought and see if, with the help of any of them, it would be better than our classic PAKKA balloon with spam, which has had a perfect run of more than 95% 3 crown wins since its creation in Arena 7. Now I would evaluate each deck to see if it would be worth changing strategy. The first deck I created was a classic Lava Hound balloon, but modernized with that MVP Mega Minion, and to create it I had to spend a few more dollars. I'm going broke because I don't have the Lava Hound or Inferno Dragon evolution, which are crucial with so many tanks like PEKKAs and Mega Tanks here. At least we got everything using the code HOSI. Use it, because if you don't, I'll go broke, just like I predicted with the Mega Tanks. A totally horrible attack, but it did a lot of damage, since luckily for that newbie, my starting rotation was pretty bad. Besides spending 6 elixir on the Hound, which he defended with weak archers, I used my Mega Minion hero's ability to take them out and even up the damage. He kept attacking me with his powerful attacks. I laugh at one of his cards, but I only copied 1 card to attack, that's the damn key, and with another good ability from my Mega Minion. I took down his tower with the last attack. Obviously I didn't copy him. Damn, let's throw everything at him, everything. The second match with Lava Hound was also tough. I started off defending really well. With a perfect Valkyrie, I'm really good, and making a good counterattack with a really good fireball, I'm really good. But he counterattacked with a skeleton army. Yes, just like you're seeing a skeleton army, and I don't know how he did it, but he predicted my skeleton army. Damn, I still ended up defending, and my Hound with the Mega Minion took down his tower. I made a strong push and won the match. You heard that right, simple as that. From those matches, I concluded that although the Hound has ultra strong, powerful attacks, it's slow and doesn't give me the fast pace needed to win repeatedly. What if I use my P.E.K.K.A deck and it's a bit weak on defense, making me lose a crown? It was the Giant's turn, and we made a Sparky deck with him mixed with a Zap. I had a good idea of how to play this thing, so I started by making a double attack, kind of unusual. Surprisingly, it was a success, huh? Ignore that, my fireball almost worked out and the guy had a level 14 Hog Rider. So he destroyed my tower quickly, although I didn't care because I was about to launch my Mega Push, which my opponent got ready to defend. My goal was to keep the Inferno Tower from destroying my Giant, or I'd be done for. I succeeded. We destroyed the tower and opened up the arena to send another Giant down the middle, which ended up winning me the match. Game 2 was super easy. We sent in a Giant with a mini PKKA and Inferno Dragon, and he defended so poorly that it gave me the win. Yeah, literally, just like that. So we came to the conclusion that this attack is strong, but not as much as the ideal attack for that deck. But unlike that one, this one is a bit easier to pull off, which lets me win matches faster. It was time for deck 3, where I used the mini PKKA as the core to build a Mega Knight deck with Balloon. The match started off tense, with strong, powerful, and fast attacks from both sides, but most of them were well defended, until one of my minor balloon pushes broke the game open. My opponent seemed good, or at least had a decent level of play, but made some extremely grotesque mistakes on his side of the field. I mean, they were horrible, and I'm calling them out. But thanks to those mistakes, I was able to do a double push to win the match. In the next one, a simple minor with some bats did a lot of damage. At first glance, a normal person would have continued the match, but this guy, weak-hearted, froze up and totally gave up. So I didn't get the chance to test this deck as thoroughly as the previous ones, but without a doubt, it's the one that convinced me the least. Today was the day we made the least progress, only 300 trophies, but it was also the day we tried new strategies and became much stronger for the future. We had to take advantage of the few trophies that the account with money gained to finally close the gap. The difference was 2,100 trophies, so we went straight to claim the free rewards, where we got the evolved archers that we had to swap in for one of the cards in our deck, and we chose the baby dragon. After leveling them up, we could finally start climbing trophies without wasting any more time. In the first match, the opponent made the worst mistake by installing Clash Royale, and by wasting that Inferno Tower. He could have made a big push with the Giant, which he defended with the 3 musketeers that were placed pretty badly. By the way, that allowed me to use a good freeze and take down his tower. And a pretty considerable elixir advantage. Let's see if now he uninstalls Clash Royale, but what really made me want to uninstall the game was the level of my cards. For example, that Valkyrie, just because it's a bit higher level than my cards, destroys a full health witch. Dude, then she goes to my tower and hits it twice twice with her axe, each swing doing heavy damage. We won this match by struggling and throwing some pretty sneaky freezes, but we did it, and those 30 trophies were ours. And even though that match was a bit tough, we were already seeing hints of how hard the road through Arena 10 would be. I started the next match by winning it with another freeze, extremely tactical, but when I tried to take down the second tower, something extremely unlikely happened. My opponent had the hut. I mean the mess, the barbarian mess. I think I'm lucky to see that card in a match with my own eyes. I BM'd him. Yeah, I BM'd him a lot. After those first 60 trophies, the road got tougher. Higher level opponents played better against me than those facing the rich account. For example, they predicted my moves and defended well, haha, though I didn't get that cannon play. And above all, my biggest problem was the level of my cards. In every match, without exception, my cards were on average 1 or 2 levels lower, which in itself is something common in the game. For a free-to-play account, but for it to happen in every match, it's a bit much. The BOL requires brutal concentration in every single match, because you start at a disadvantage. For example, if your towers are lower level, it's like you're starting off losing in every single match. For logical reasons, and honestly, I'm not great at Clash Royale, the matches got tough. I even went into overtime against someone who kept placing cannons and attacking, just because he had a higher card level or even a witch with infinite range. Or I don't know why, but she was hitting my tower. From there, Supercell hates people who don't spend money on the game, right? They made it so that in a match where I could barely deal 300 damage in 4 minutes, I'm losing, with only a few seconds left before the match ends. And with constant pressure. Yeah, I know it's weak pressure, but still it's pressure that doesn't let me attack. Even though with very little time left, I managed to sneak in a miracle goblin and win the match. To relax, I went to my clan for a bit and found some real gems.
Dobie Crafter is the king. Hi, in this clan there's Hossy 7, yes. See. Wow, Hossy is here. Question mark.
Question mark, yeah, nothing too interesting, and now I'd keep going through Arena 10. Yeah, it wrecked me. Actually, my tower doesn't kill skeletons. Level 11 skeletons don't die in one shot, and I had to use all my elixir to defend against them. My opponent took advantage of my lack of elixir to make a devastating attack that, for better or worse, didn't take down my tower. My opponent knew he had the game won. Heh, and he did this, you know this? Yes, he did. So I had to take advantage of that window of time to take down all 3 towers before he cycled back to his fireball. And this happened. He almost won the game, but he didn't. I kept playing against weird opponents. Really weird ones, Dave. For Zudo, what are you doing to my miner? Please, there were taunters, criers, all kinds, but we won, and that's how we made it to 3,255 trophies. Here I realized a major structural flaw in my deck, where I had to let a balloon take down my tower because I had a bad rotation. I didn't care because I thought I would tie the match epically on the right side, which didn't happen. He defended, left me without elixir, and took down my tower. He humiliated me epically. I lost 2-0 and had 1 minute to come back in that match, but he pressured me so much, man. He was so relentless that I just couldn't do it, not even close. Only a few seconds were left in the match. And yeah, once again, I was just about to make a comeback, guys, right at the edge. Almost made it, but no, nothing happened. And I went into the next one with another opponent who put me under constant pressure, and I literally couldn't attack the entire match, which obviously made me lose that game. I realized that constant pressure was my Achilles heel, so I copied that opponent's deck. I changed a few things like swapping the Snowball for arrows or the bats for archers since we have them evolved. It's a more solid deck than I thought. It applies strong pressure, especially in both lanes, which is hardest to defend even against Arena 10 players. Obviously, it's going to be hard for them to do it, which helped me win 3 matches in a row. But time had literally run out. We had failed on the day when we could have closed the gap. Regarding the account with money, we only gained 270 trophies, which is actually the same as what the rich account did. In fact, it was just limited to testing decks. The account with money is already 5 arenas and almost 2,000 trophies ahead of the poor account. But the curious thing is, the farther apart they get, the worse the gap gets, because in higher arenas, better offers and better rewards appear. And like a snowball effect, the difference becomes more and more obvious, although it's not catastrophic yet, and we'll play with the poor account to try to fix it. And the thing is, we're facing one of the biggest events of the year. One of the moments when our buddies at Supercell give out more rewards and free stuff to all players, no matter higher their social class. So we must take advantage and get as many things as possible today, which basically means farming crowns in matches. So with the deck we copied from some random guy, we started playing in Arena 10 today. Matches where the original creator of the deck gave me lessons from beyond the grave. Almost 20 years dead. And you're still teaching me? Was the deck truly perfected in structure? I'm not sure that makes sense, but even with my changes, the original base remained. Like with the lightning spell. And even if it's not completely clear why is it in the deck, is it literally the most important card? And even though in that match I literally didn't use it, it stayed there all match, waiting for a perfect moment that never came. Later I realized it was the best card in the deck. In the second match, a guy mocked me while he had a spectator. That's one of the worst things someone can do to me because I get nervous and lose the match. Nah, just kidding. Like I said before, thanks to lightning I won that match. Why? Because my opponent was using the most mediocre and basic combination in the game, the wizard and witch. Sorry if you use it, but it's the worst and most basic combination in the game. Like her, just using her was so decisive that it was the exact moment when I got ahead of my opponent and won the match. Doing a lot. BM is never enough BM. And after climbing 100 trophies, I faced a Barbarian Hut player, which is a canonical event for anyone who plays this card. I'll treat it like a world final and mock him so hard he'll be left with serious lasting effects and a lot of trauma. Handing out trauma, we climbed to Arena 11, unlocking the Magic Archer, our first legendary that didn't fit into my deck. So I built a new one and spent 38 gems to upgrade my lightning, which had performed as one of the best cards. Then I read the clan chat and felt proud of my followers. Use the code Jossie, guys. Wait, the code Jossie, that's not how you spell it, buddy. Jossie, that's not how you spell it. In the first match of Electro Bash, lightning showed why it was worth those 38 gems. With several interactions that, without exaggerating, won me that match. So in the next one I got to face my first hero. Obviously I would put up a fight, but that wasn't the case. I got a little scared and we lost the match. Well guys, look, I can't win everything. Sometimes we lose after that failure, as if Daddy Supercell wanted me to keep progressing. He gave me a minor that I added to the deck I had built with the Magic Archer, and I realized it was time to try it out. In the first match with this deck, I faced a guy with a level 4 tower. But they forget that I'm Hossy, and the match got complicated for me, although partly it was because the opponent's Witch Wizard, when you don't have an optimal way to counter it, like lightning, is just too oppressive. We won, though it was a tough finish, but that shouldn't have happened since the guy had a level 4 tower. Still, it doesn't matter. In another match, the opponent had a level 11 Magic Archer, and besides being more handsome, better looking, and higher level than my Archer, he was smarter, man. I don't know how to explain it. My Archer was a fool, man. Why didn't he hit the tower? And even though his arrows were certainly smarter, he wasn't that smart if he was Patricio Streak. And as if my Archer was being trolled, the one we had insulted for most of the match, his neurons finally connected and he put on a spectacular performance. Does he really not want me to take him out of the deck? And at 3,457 trophies, that kind of luck? His attack was like the guy who had humiliated us in Arena 10. And he ended up humiliating us again. Thanks to the event rewards, I got my first level 10 card, which interestingly was a legendary one. I also got a hero. My friend Daddy Supercell, you're doing a great job. That's why I gave you the code, my son, besides my Daddy Supercell, who gave me a lot of rewards. And use the code, by the way, use the code. In the clan, they were supporting me. Literally, God is supporting me, my friend. I mean, with the blessing of this being, we played some easier matches with the PKKA deck, with which we did very well and ended up halfway through Arena 11, overtaking the paid account. Today, we would choose the deck to climb trophies, and we've already tried 3 different decks, Lava Hound, Sparky, and Mega Knight, so I had to decide on one to max out. I'm going with PKK balloon spam, my friend. Always have. How could I let you go? Beautiful thing, but I would make a few changes. So I went to the shop where I bought several things with the code HOS, getting a key new addition to the deck and a lot of things to keep improving it. Because if we left it at that level, it would fall behind here. Of the over 20,000 common wildcards we had, more than 10,000 were used for upgrades. The goblins leveled up from 1 to 14 and thousands more improved the bats and spear goblins. I split the epic wildcards to upgrade upgraded my Witch, PEKA, and Balloon Trifecta. I was just one wild card short of upgrading the Miner, so I searched chests for it but didn't get it. Legendary Super C, but I still got that missing wild card from the rewards in the past Royale. So we got the deck to a level fit for several higher arenas with which we would theoretically dominate in Arena 15. And before playing, obviously we bought the Pass Royale. Obviously because we want the golden name, and I know I always say the same thing, but how absolutely broken we were in the first match was almost ridiculous, and in the second match it seemed like we had finally found someone who would give us a challenge. A rival who had clearly also spent money on the game. He started by defending and attacking well, but the hero goblins wanted a different story, because it's not even remotely normal that for 3 elixir they get a tower, man. It's something I've honestly never seen before. Without all the spam help, beating him by 3 crowns wouldn't have been possible. In this match, I realized something important: the way to play it. This deck changed completely, and in earlier arenas the strength was focused on the heavy push with PEKA, Balloon, and Witch, and I only used the spam to give a little boost. But now the deck revolved around these 2 axes, PEKA and the spam. Another thing that happened is that opponents' mistakes were no longer forgiven. For example, just one mistake from the opponent would wipe out all their chances in the match. For example, this clone, using clone is already a mistake in itself, but I think that's not the way. Seconds after making that blunder, he lost the match, or a log that at first seemed well used ended up causing him to lose the match shortly after, thanks to the spam. Even in situations where anyone would be at an elixir disadvantage, my level simply cushioned it. It allowed me to manage to defend myself and keep my opponent from taking advantage of natural openings to attack. Playing Clash Royale like this is beautiful. I mean, using code Jose in the shop, guys, so much so that for the first time since Arena 10 I went back to my ultra aggressive side. I was just attacking and pinning my opponents back. I'm not exaggerating when I say I went through Arena 15 in about 15 minutes. If it wasn't spam, it was a PEKKA and Balloon at the bridge. Obviously, we're rats. Literally, I had 2 ways to win, and both were very, very hard for anyone to defend against. Literally, I think with PEKKA, this deck on my main account is just too effective because we're talking about an arena where the level is already starting to get relatively decent. Here, the opponents already more or less understand how to defend or take advantage of attack windows, but they simply couldn't do anything against my deck. We were climbing about 200 trophies every 10 minutes, which is just absurd. Even completely random things like goblins with miner at the bridge were working. It was crazy. Although in one match my overconfidence cost me, I attacked just to attack without any clear plan. And I ended up losing a tower, which is really serious. Well, they only destroyed 1 tower, but I shouldn't lose it, man. That shouldn't happen on this account. Even so, I won. Something I discovered is that even good enemy defenses turned into bad defenses just because of the level difference. For example, look at this army that's well placed. The witch attacks the tower, and her higher level skeletons, even in smaller numbers, still make it possible. From being a decent defense to a really bad defense, which ends up turning into 3 crowns. In fact, I was so juiced, I mean really juiced, I thought I could take down all 3 towers with just 1 push. Which isn't unusual, but what's strange is that I sent a miner to the king tower when it was still asleep. Pretty strange, because why did I do that, man? I'm not lying when I say that the opponent who gave me the most trouble so far was this guy, my first opponent in Arena 16, and it only took him 40 seconds to lose. A simple goblin barrel at the wrong moment doomed him. As I've been saying, opponents' mistakes get exponentially worse on this account. For example, the mistake here was attacking me with a Sparky at the bridge, which is pretty strange, and a goblin barrel. I mean, it's a bad attack, but nobody would say that could make you lose by 3 crowns, but what if it did? And taking advantage of how far ahead I was, since we were just 90 trophies away from the next arena, today we went for it. Without a doubt, they're a steamroller with my new deck, which gave me a level of supremacy I hadn't seen since much lower arenas. This advantage let me climb 700 trophies, while my free-to-play account only earned half as many in the same time. So we started playing with the account that had the most unfinished tasks, the one that suffers, the poor account. Begin with the most important task every player does. When you open Clash Royale, which is to check the clan, and it looks like there's quite a long chat. Look at this guy Bore in the barbarian podium. This guy knows his stuff. He really knows his stuff. After that, I would open 2 important reward chests from the trophy road. The legendary one gave us an Inferno Dragon. Nice, super important, one of the best legendary cards we could get. Thank you, Supercell, I love you. The giant chest was terrible, but oh well. Also, we bought a miner in the shop to upgrade it to level 10. And in the first match, where the Inferno Dragon was supposed to make its debut, this was actually him. I mean, he spent the whole match waiting for the perfect moment, and that moment never came because I never used him. However, I was sure that he would be useful for us from now on because in these arenas, there are lots of sneaky tanks, you know? After that match, I got 1,000 archers, which literally is the only one of our 2 evolutions that we use a lot. Honestly, we were getting really lucky. Thank you, Papa Supercell. And on top of that, I took the opportunity to open my first King's Chest, which would have the princesses to upgrade my tower because I couldn't afford to play with a lower level tower in these arenas. But unintentionally, at that moment, I selected the Recruits deck, and without realizing it, I entered the match with that deck. The funny thing is, it blew my mind. Literally. I'm not joking, it's just that we faced the Cannoneer Tower, man. What were the odds? And guess which deck is the perfect counter to Cannon Tower? Exactly, ours. No, just kidding, ours. Yes, literally what we had equipped by accident was a perfect counter to that tower. Even so, it was a tough match, but honestly, we had started off with some really strange luck. And of course, guys, how could we not have that luck if we have the Josie code in the shop? Obviously, we would have that luck. I mean, it's normal. It's normal that we don't have the code. Like, of course, I don't have the code. And as we advanced through Arena 11, we kept running into stranger and stranger opponents, like this guy who just gave us that emote. Like, as if saying something when literally he just made a bot move a few seconds ago. Well, even bots are smarter than this guy. Because at one point in the match, when I was so far ahead, I allowed myself to do something totally crazy. Like dropping a PAKKA and some archers in that position, which was just pure luck for my opponent. Fortunately, he managed to connect his 2 working brain cells and defended. With only 3 elixir, I even dared to spend more elixir with some arrows. I'm an idiot. I mean, at that moment, my opponent got a clean 10 elixir advantage over me, which is basically dooming yourself in the match. Although he tied the game by taking advantage then, he couldn't manage it and lost. Why? Because I'm really good, that's why. I also ran into a real Expo player. Emphasis on the word real, because usually they're bots, although this one wasn't much different from a bot because he seemed like one. He always fell into my trap. With the magic archer and miner at the bridge. Poor guy. And at the end of the match, guess what? I tried to troll him. Well, it's every Clash Royale player's duty to troll Expo players. Don't blame me, don't blame me. Although I couldn't because my PAKKA got away from him. Poor guy, he was already helping me climb arenas. And the usual rule is, the higher you are, the fewer weird guys show up, but the guy with the tactical freezes, every now and then, one of these guys who throws freezes appears. Sublime, they're incredible, they make me laugh a lot. They're part of the folklore of Clash Royale, and I was already 2 trophies away from Arena 12, but I didn't want to climb up in the normal way because I'm not normal. Well, actually, I was gonna do it in the most epic way possible. I'll play with a random deck that includes the card I get from this chest. Inferno Dragon? Okay, that's fine. My collection that you're seeing here is pretty bad, so the random deck will probably be trash. So in 3, 2, 1, oh, it's really bad. It's way too bad. We start with Ice Golem at level 1, man. It's at level 1. We pair it with Giant because everyone knows the best combination with Ice Golem is Giant. I hope he doesn't have Mega Knight. Oh, wait. It's confirmed that I'm not the only low-level player in this match, and Ice Golem here, even though it's level 1, can still save us because the Inferno Dragon has a lot of DPS and doesn't jump to the tower. Perfect. I'm even going to attack with level 1 cards as a treat, even if they likely won't do much. The secret key to surviving in this Mega Knight at the bridge match is to spam cards into the middle like crazy and say 2 or 3 Our Fathers. I'm just kidding, but it's still hard to defend against this guy, especially because of his card level. And even the counter attack that formed on the left, we can take advantage of it by launching a counter attack on the right. Because he's going to focus on defending everything I have on the left, and he's going to ignore what I have on the right, right? The damage we did is beautiful. Go home. And now who's laughing, and now who's laughing, and that's how we move on to Arena 12 in the most epic way possible. I told you so. And now, would I continue my journey with my traditional deck? My time in the spooky arena started off pretty absurd. With the first match, which only got complicated 30 trophies ago, I was winning with level 1 cards and showing how it's done, my friend, the way I defended. Even though we won that match, and in the next 30 trophies, things also got complicated. And even more so. And the opponent was even worse than anything my eyes have ever seen. No, seriously, he was really, really bad. Although basically the match got complicated just because of Sparky getting a few hits on the tower and his lack of ability to make rational attacks made him lose. Even though we were close in Royal Trophies, it seemed like I was facing completely different people. In Arena 11, the matches got more complicated than expected, although we kept climbing, and we also ran into another guy. Their tactical freezes are incredible. It seems like freeze is the hardest card to play in the game. I can't believe they use it so well, man. And after a painful defeat, we were left halfway through Arena 12 on the pay-to-win account. We also had too many things to do. First, I claimed the free freeze but haven't redeemed it yet. Don't worry, we also received the 200 fragments on the free-to-play account. We opened King's chests and trophy chests, though it doesn't really matter on this account. And before we started playing, we would do something pretty wild with our deck, and for that, we would spend most of our magic items. And I geared up by buying things from the shop that matched what I was going to do with my deck. Obviously, with the Hosi code, we would upgrade 2 important cards to level 15. First, the Goblins, since it's our hero card, and the Balloon, our win condition. But doing this was a mistake, literally, by only upgrading 2 cards. We went up 8 king levels, and as a result, our tower went from level 11 to 13, which was, without a doubt, very harmful, since it's not worth it to have only 2 cards at level 10. Especially with the chance of having to face level 15 players who are insanely strong. There was a big difference in the experience given when upgrading something from level 14 to level 15 compared to upgrading from level 13 to level 14. That's why my other upgrades focused on raising cards from level 13 to level 14, so I'm not exaggerating about this big mistake. Our journey through this arena would probably be more difficult. In fact, our first match was more complicated than usual, although we still won. But in the next one, my new deck level really showed. The opponent immediately used the log, thinking that this way he would get rid of my witch, and after that he sent a skeleton army for my mina, expecting an arena without the witch. But she, super overpowered, was still there being a pain and made the opponent waste 5 elixir. That led to a series of nervous mistakes by the opponent, which we exploited to win the 3 crowns. I was already in my match to move up to the new arena, but honestly it was easier than beating you, yeah, you who's watching me right now. After my first double attack, I destroyed both of his towers simultaneously, and when both attacks converged on the central tower, I gained entry to the new arena. Now in Arena 17, it was logical to think that the matches would get harder, but again, the first match in this arena was easier than anything else I had faced before. I had already gone up more than 100 trophies, and I thought my second match in Arena 17 would be different, but really, this guy you're seeing here, he was one of the dumbest opponents I've ever faced, and I'm not exaggerating. And this didn't necessarily make the match shorter. On the contrary, he wasted some resources on defending attacks. Absurd, and I won a little slower, but I won. The next opponent seemed good. Mr. Angel, even his name sounds impressive, but... Nah, just kidding, but my level advantage, up to 6 higher in some cases, overwhelmed him. That made me realize that among the opponents who play well, they had some kind of chance against Gamardo. Imagine this situation. Spending 5 elixir to defend against 2, and it still doesn't work for you. It's outrageous, and it's not like I played well either. Well, he knows that, and it's just that my perfected attack and my high level did the job for me, so narrating how I literally crushed in this arena would be kind of boring, because basically each match was worse for them and better for me. And I changed my playstyle a bit. I no longer focused on pushing just one lane. Now I attacked from both sides. Yeah, pretty intense, sneaky. My strong push usually went down the right side, while on the left I kept up constant pressure. With heroic goblins and some other stuff that might look weak. Yeah, it might look weak, but weak? Your grandma's weak, because just like that, Destro was already in the next arena in no time. After how ridiculously easy this journey was, I set myself a kind of personal challenge to get through this arena as fast as possible. And what happened there is a topic for another video. And we ended up at 7,000 trophies. Now I would compare 3 important points between both accounts. First, card collection. The free account has 70 cards unlocked, and the rich account has found almost all the cards in the game. Among them, 12 legendaries and 3 champions, while the free account only has 2 legendaries and 0 champions. Also, the average level of their decks is quite uneven, with the rich account being 5 levels higher. Second, the trophy road. And at first glance, you can see the huge difference. Today we gained 400 trophies on the free account, and in the same amount of time the pay to win account gained almost 3 times more. It's outrageous, with more than 3,000 trophies ahead for the paid account. And the most important point, performance in matches. By using an external app, we can see that the free account, out of the 159 matches it played, won 146 and lost 13, which is a good performance. And about 50% of the matches were won with 3 crowns, so very good for me because I played them. But the paid account takes those stats to the extreme. It has a win rate of over 99%, and almost all of its victories were 3 crown wins. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.